see. Yep, I see the recording.
Okay,
I see a little button. So there you go.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and start with your first full name.
Max Grubb. If you want to know my middle name, it's Vernon. Max Vernon Grubb.
I like that. Is your name Max, or is that short for something?
It's just Max. My friends when I was in my childhood would call my house to obviously want to talk to me. My mother would answer and they would ask for Maximilian, and my mother would get very upset.
Yeah.
Correct them.
That's funny. I have an uncle named Ted, and his name is just Ted, not short for anything. So.
Yeah, they think it's Theodore.
Yeah, I think that's pretty funny. So how long have you been teaching?
I have been teaching. Depends if how you clarify that. At Youngstown State, I'm into my 8th year.
Okay.
But I taught for 7 years at Kent State.
Oh.
And I taught for 6 years at Southern Illinois University.
Oh, wow.
Right after I got my doctorate. And if you count my graduate school, I was a teaching assistant. There's a couple, 3 years there, I think. So over the span, but here at Youngstown State I'm going into my 8th year.
Quite a few more years beyond just Youngstown State.
Oh yes, yeah.
I was going to go. That was with my next question is, how long were you in school? What year? What did you graduate with? You said your doctorate though. So.
Oh, well, I'll tell you what. I have a Bachelor of Science in Communication from Ohio University. I always call it a bullshit in communication, but a Bachelor of Science in Communication, and I majored in broadcast management.
Oh, okay.
Years I spent approximately 15 years in corporate broadcast management in various radio and TV groups, primarily radio. Did television also. I then worked my last few years. Went to school part time. I got my master's in media management from Kent State, and then I left the field, finished up my master thesis, and went back to Ohio University for my doctorate, and got my PhD in mass communication, or communication, excuse me, with a specialty in international media systems.
Wow.
So, and then my first job out was early 2000 in Southern Illinois University.
So you got quite a few things under your belt.
Yeah.
A lot of big. What was your favorite experience doing all of that?
Actually, I think my favorite experience is with my doctorate. I traveled for the first time internationally.
Oh wow, yeah.
And my first international trip was to the Baltic states: Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania.
Wow.
Hang on a second.
You're fine.
Spam. It was to the Baltic states: Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, primarily Estonia.
Wow.
As part of a State Department grant that the university got, Ohio U got, to work with the media professionals in the Baltic states. They'd just been independent for 5 years from the Soviet Union. We now know Russia. So, and I was part of a group that would do workshops for the government officials and the broadcasters who were trying to establish a private and public broadcast system. And so, but my primary focus then was in Estonia. It was Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania. But I did work a little bit in Latvia, Lithuania those times. But I spent 5 weeks in the wintertime there. Cold.
That is quite an experience, yeah.
Oh yeah. So I would say that was, where I really got my taste of doing a lot of international work.
Yeah.
And I went back to Latvia, and of course I've done some consulting work with the State Department projects in Russia a few times, and the Middle East, and I've been in North Africa, and
Oh my goodness.
So it's been really nice. And I was taking students overseas for a week or two to London and Paris.
Wow.
Or both.
Yeah, I've never been out of the country, so that's something that Puerto Rico doesn't really count, but I've never been out of the country, so that's exciting, something that I would look forward to doing.
Oh, good.
So you mentioned that I know you mentioned your wife and your daughter several times.
Yes.
And that you've adopted your daughter, which I thought was really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any other children?
No, that's it, except if count 2 little dogs.
Well, that counts.
Yeah.
That counts.
Yeah.
How long was the experience in adopting your daughter? I'm sure that was a long time. I have friends actually going through the same thing.
Back then, it normally would have been normally would have been about a 12 to 18 month process.
Wow.
From the time you start to the time you get over there and
Right.
get your baby or child. But the problem was SARS, which is another virus. It was
Mm-hmm.
taking place in early 2000, and it delayed us by another six to 8 months. And
Wow.
so we wound up going over in October of 2003 to get our daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And it was we spent approximately, I'm mentally going through my
Uh-huh.
mind. I think it was about 10 days in China. We went to Beijing
Wow.
first for 5 days before we picked up before we flew into central south China to Hunan province. But we went to Beijing first. One is to get acclimated to the time difference and to sort of see the Great Wall and
Absolutely. Yeah.
the square and all that stuff. So, but yeah, and nowadays, and since we've adopted, the timing has gotten longer.
Right.
We had a friend of ours.
More extensive background checks and all stuff like that.
Yeah, and for some reason, a lot longer. We had friends that took 5 years.
Wow.
The other thing is adoption is becoming more acceptable within the country.
Right.
So before, the culture sort of inhibited that primarily because of, you're supposed to know one's ancestry and all that. And if you're adopting someone, you don't know what their ancestry is like.
Right.
But that's changed with the younger, younger Chinese.
Yeah, and all the technology we have now with the 23andMe and the ancestry,
Mm-hmm.
it's easier to track your background. So that's pretty cool.
Oh yeah. Oh, yeah.
I haven't met very many people that have adopted. I think that's wonderful. So I know you said you're from Medina.
Yes, Medina, Ohio.
And you're born and raised there?
If you want to get technical about it, I was born like a month. Yeah. I was born in Cleveland.
Oh.
But 1 month after I was born, they moved to Medina.
Oh, well, I mean, same difference.
To me, it's the same, I know nothing else but Medina.
Right. Is there anything else that you would like to add in our interview before we conclude?
I think, from Medina, you've done the international thing. A lot of people don't know about that.
Right. Yeah, that's
I like to travel. I do enjoy traveling and meeting people.
Come to that realization after talking to you for a couple minutes that you like to travel.
Yeah, I enjoy that. I enjoy meeting people. I enjoy experiencing different cultures.
Yeah.
I've had some interesting times, when I was in Nigeria for a little over 2 weeks, evaluating a project, and had fun with that. It's just, I would like to do more of it, but with the COVID environment, it's going to be challenging for at least another year or two.
Right.
So I'm hoping to resume the London trips for students and Paris, after this all transpires.
Well, that would be awesome, and I hope that you are able to do that. I mean, this whole thing is just crazy. So.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you really want one thing that people wouldn't know about me is I shook hands with Prince Charles.
Wow, that is awesome.
I met Prince Charles on my first.
Not a lot of people can say that.
Yeah, on one of my first trips. Yeah.
Wow.
So I've been in the Kremlin. I walked Red Square.
Wow. Well, I have a lot of catching up to do, I see, with my experiences.
Rode camels around the pyramids, and I went in a pyramid.
Oh my goodness, that's probably the most I'm jealous of, honestly. That's
there you go. Took a little sailboat down the Nile River, just a small little sailboat.
I couldn't imagine.
Yeah.
I'd hold on to that for the rest of my life. That sounds awesome.
So, I'm one of those things, if people put that on a sheet and say, find someone who did that in the crowd, it would be difficult.
Yeah. Well, I know who to call if I need to interview about traveling or anything like that.
There you go. Be glad to.
Right. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and extending everything for me. I appreciate that a lot.
Oh, great. You're welcome. So be sure to stop